Hello friends, Jenkins Dota here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of DotaAlchemy.com, and this video is going to be part of the How to Increase Your Rank in Solo Queue video series. And in this video, I'm going to talk about practicing smart. I talked a little bit about this concept in the introduction video, but I will explain it here again by way of making an analogy to traditional sports. Something like basketball has been around for over 100 years with relatively similar rules, so it has had a huge amount of time to mature as a sport in a lot of ways. Basketball, much like Dota, has players, mechanics, strategies, teams, analysts, casters, and so forth. But unlike Dota, basketball has a lot of things figured out that Dota has just recently been testing the waters with. For instance, collegiate Dota just recently started being taken seriously, whereas in basketball, it's been the sole way that players actually transition into the professional league or the NBA. Coaches weren't even a thing in Dota until a couple of years back, and now they can actually be in the booth while the players are drafting and competitive. With that being said, quality practice is also something that has been relatively figured out in other sports, but is still a bit of a mystery in Dota. Most players, even on the professional level, practice pretty terribly. They just grind solo queue all day expecting to get better, which they certainly do, and I think you will get better from solo queuing, but at a slow pace. Some players like Eternal Envy and Arteezy take it a step further and they spam certain heroes in matchmaking to practice. Needless to say, this is much better than mindlessly pubbing all day because you'll really get the muscle memory down for a particular OP hero at a time quite quickly, but you can take it even further in my opinion, and those two players that I mentioned, they actually do as well. In regular sports, players will do all sorts of different drills to train certain skill sets outside of the game. For practicing effectively in Dota, there's a pretty simple flowchart that you can follow. So the number one thing that I would recommend in terms of training very effectively in Dota is to navigate over to the arcade section of the Dota 2 in-game client. Go to the top right where it says search custom games and then search Polygon. So the very first thing is what you want to go to. I'm not sure if the second one is some unofficial like meme that somebody made. I don't know what's going on with this. Maybe that is the official one, but it's in test build. So I know the one that everybody uses is the training Polygon 0.6. So I definitely recommend going for that one. You go here where this uninstall button is for me. There will be a install button. You press that, you install via Steam, and then you click this play training Polygon big green button. It's going to find you a server, and this is the great thing about it is that if you're playing on test mode or if you're playing in your own custom lobby, a lot of the time you're going to be on localhost, which means you're going to have 0 ping. So it's actually going to be a very ineffective way to practice because unless you're playing on LAN, because if you're going to play Dota, you're going to be playing on one of the Dota servers, which is going to be in US East, US West, maybe somewhere in SEA. And you want to play on those servers because otherwise you're going to train yourself to have the incorrect muscle memory because even just like 50 ping or something does really matter. So you go in here, press cool story, and the probably the most common one that you see, Arteezy and Eternal Envy and stuff, these guys will practice the Manta dodging, and that's just the abilities dodging mod. And basically, what I would recommend to do for this one is that you turn the time bar on. So with any of these kind of training mechanisms, I would definitely recommend starting easy, turn all of the kind of helping options on, and then slowly take them off as you get better and better and as you get more consistent. So for this one, for example, I would say that you want to turn the time bar on, and then that's basically going to make it so that there's this green box that moves across your screen, and it's going to time it and show you when to press the Manta for all of these abilities. It makes it way easier. But then once you take it off, you can kind of in your head remember where that green box was, even if it's something that you're not consciously doing. Subconsciously you will, and you'll get really, really good at dodging these abilities without that green box, just because you learned the timing from that green box, and it's just a way of training it. So that's a really effective way to train, is to just make it very, very easy, and then take off the training wheels as you progress. So probably the most common thing that I use this for is the skill shots training. There's a lot of great other stuff on here. You can basically train anything. The clockwork hook and the pudge hook in particular are the two that I use a lot, because these are two abilities that you very rarely use in a game. I mean, I don't want to say it's like super rare, but you seldom use them in a game because you hold your abilities for the most part. You're not just throwing hooks every time it's off cooldown, obviously. So in a game with Pudge, like you might hook like 40 times, given a good game, given a game where it goes long. So that's not a lot. Like in an hour long game, 40 hooks, that's not a lot. Whereas in training Polygon, you can get like 1,000 in an hour, maybe even more than that in an hour. So what I do is I select the Pudge hook, That's going to spawn you in as Pudge. There's going to be a Jug running around. He's pretty quick. All you do is you throw the hook and you hit him, and it's going to count how many times you hit him in a row and tell you if it's good based on whether you hit this guy or not. His speed is going to change, and you can go to the side here, and like I said, what you should do is you should start with training wheels. So obviously this is very easy to do it like this, but what I like to do to train myself to be really, really good at blind hooking, and believe me, I'm going to miss this one a bunch, because what I like to do is I like to, like, instant I see him, I throw the hook, and I just do it based off of, like, feeling. I try not to, like, okay, I'm going to calculate based on his timing. Nothing like that. Like, I see him, I throw the hook, because I know that's what I would want to do in a game where I'm blind hooking people by just catching a glimpse of them. So I'll turn these trees on. I'll turn the movement speed up. I'll maybe even turn the min movement speed up as well. There's a lot of, and then even turn the range up as well. There's a lot of stuff you can do to get really, really good at hitting kind of blind hooks and stuff. And I think this is one of the big reasons that I've been very good at hitting hooks with the new hook speed, because it was a lot to learn the new change when they changed and made the Pudge hook way slower, because I'd used that old Pudge hook for so damn long. But this training polygon made it really easy for me to adjust. And I think that you should definitely use it too, and that goes for if you play a lot of Marana, if that's your favorite hero, if you play a lot of Clockwork, do this for skill shots. In fact, do this for anything that you can that's allowed in here, because it's absolutely amazing. So the second thing that I would recommend in terms of practicing efficiently in Dota is to abuse your queue time to practice Dota and do some drills in a test lobby. So there's a few reasons that I think it's really important to use your queue time. Number one, I think queue time is spent a lot of the time on, like, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook. Like, people are in the Dota mode during their queue, because obviously you would be in the Dota mode if you're like, okay, I'm going to play a solo queue. Then you can use that time effectively to practice, because if you're in the Dota mode, then of course you're going to be thinking actively. You want to play, so why not use that time to practice? So it makes a lot of sense in that regard, but people just go on Facebook, Twitter, because there's no training polygon, there's no custom lobbies or anything like that during queue time. But Valve has actually added something amazing. If you go to Heroes and you go to whatever hero you want to practice, there's a demo mode that you can actually do while you're queuing, because it doesn't count as a lobby. And this is going to be something that's very, very effective for abusing that queue time. And if you're not in the Redditing mood, you can just go in here and click demo. I like to use Pudge, because I like to, and this is the second reason that I think that abusing the queue time is very effective. The reason I like to play Pudge in this mode is because a lot of the time I'll go into a pub and I'll immediately play Pudge. So I want to make sure that my hooks are on point before I go into that pub. I don't want to miss the first 5 hooks I throw because I'm rusty, right? Why not miss the hooks in this stupid mode where it doesn't matter, and then go into the pub and hit all of the hooks because I'm used to the timing? So it's a pretty effective thing in terms of your long-term practice, but even short-term, like if you want to win more games, you can literally go during the queue and warm up with the hero. Like hockey players, even in the NHL, man, you see them at the start of the game, they will all warm up together because it's so effective to do that. You don't want to go in, like I said, you don't want to miss the first 5 shots that you take because you're just rusty. Well, why bother? So what I'll do is I'll go in here and I'll just set up a drill depending on what I want to practice. Mostly it's going to obviously be hooks. I'll do it with Marana too, because I'm playing a lot of Marana lately. I will create a couple of heroes which are going to spawn at my mouse location. I'll do an axe, and let's do a couple of axes. Actually, I'll do one axe for now, and I will do a create hero Rubik. So I'll try to hit the Rubik, and you can move the axe back and forth yourself, but I would definitely actually not recommend that. That is definitely really painful to do. But if you're very committed, go for it. But what I would recommend is going to your options, going to advanced hotkeys, and there's a patrol button. That is what I have set up so that I can do these drills. I barely use it in game because it's not super useful, other than a couple of weird tricks here or there. But this is very effective for doing drills. So I'll take this axe and I'll just patrol him back and forth by pressing my patrol hotkey, which is H, and I'll just try to hook the Rubik. It's very simple. Even just a drill like that is going to warm you up a little bit, so I definitely recommend even doing that. But I'll make it a little more complicated as my queue takes longer and longer. I'll create another axe just to be consistent with what I'm trying to not hit. I'll try to hit the Rubik, and you can see that it's a little bit harder. So I've got a little bit less of a timing, and there you go. So this is something that, like I said, I can get in like 10 to 15 hooks of different drills before I actually play a game, and then I'm going to play 1,000 times better in that Pudge game, and that's very effective for that. But then also, that's just the efficiency of using that queue time to practice, where otherwise people will be on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. And like I said, it's very unfortunate that you do not have training polygon during the queue time. There's a lot of custom lobbies and stuff that don't work during the queue time, but this does work, and I would highly recommend this. You see Arteezy and Eternal Envy even cancel. A lot of these super high skill players, these guys do this. Even if they just fuck around in here, it's still very effective for building your muscle memory. So the third part of practicing extremely effectively in Dota, in my opinion, is to pick a hero in pubs first in order to get countered, in order to play against very difficult heroes to play against. And the reason that I have this replay up here, this is actually a live game because I saw it and I was like, this is a perfect example. This is a buddy of mine playing. His name is Save, and he is playing against some incredibly difficult heroes to play against, and that's because he first picked the Pudge. The only hero really that his hero is good against is the TA here. Pudge is pretty terrible against Bloodseeker, Skywrath, against Undying Necro especially, and that's the lane that he was against. As you can see, this bottom lane was super deadly, and yet he still went here, he still laned here. Now I'm not sure if he intentionally did this in order to practice, but I can say that no matter what, first picking that Pudge and having to lane against this Necro Undying lane, which would completely crush a Pudge, by the way, and let's check out his score. So he's doing pretty well despite being against this killer lane. This is going to be really, really good practice for him. So that's the third kind of way that I would recommend practicing particular heroes. Picking it into counters, picking it in order to get countered, picking it first when you otherwise wouldn't want to pick it, so that way you play against counters, so that when you do play against heroes that are easy to play against, it's like taking off those weights. It's so easy to play against those damn heroes, and you will just absolutely crush. So you can do that in unranked if you don't want to do that in ranked. The reason this dude that I'm showing you the replay of is doing it in ranked is because he plays competitive, so he's practicing for competitive by picking it in ranked. But if ranked is really important, you're trying to build your MMR, this guy doesn't really care about it, then you should definitely do it in unranked, or play party queue with your friends or something like that. And then finally, the last step is pretty obvious, and I don't even necessarily think it has to be a step, but if you want to practice heroes, like at a certain point, you want to pick them in games where your hero is good. And the reason for that isn't just because, like, okay, well, this is, you know, you have to play the hero. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that just has to be the final step for whatever reason. It's more so because you want to have practice carrying games that you should carry. That's the thing, is that you can't constantly be giving yourself terrible matchups, because then you'll be so used to playing kind of a supporty way. You'll kind of be playing as that guy that's playing from behind, and the expectations of you are really low. But there's a huge difference when you're playing against something like, for instance, Pudge against this TA here. He's expected to do really well, so getting kills on him is extremely, extremely important, and he can't just play in those games where it's like, oh, you know, I'm a Pudge, I'm never going to get any kills because, oh, I'm always countered or anything like that. No, you want to have pressure on you and be able to respond to that. And as you can see, they kill the TA, they trade a bunch for it, which is kind of stupid, but it's still you know, you want to practice against these heroes that you're good against as well, and be able to snowball on them and do well in those games, because otherwise you're just gonna practice, you know, playing like shit and playing a very difficult scenario. And what's the point in that? So that's the final step, is picking it intentionally to have a really, really good game, so you practice that scenario. So this is a good flowchart for integrating heroes. This kind of general, these four things. I would say that you want to do this hero by hero, and then kind of you'll build up this list of heroes that you can win solo queue with. The thing is, you're only going to have a small list of heroes that you're winning pubs with at any given moment. It is something that you have to accept, because patches come really fast, and you have to be up to date with the OP heroes. So being able to very quickly take a hero from 0 to 100 in terms of skill will win you a lot of matches over a long period of time. It's also important that you go through the flowchart with the hero that you're previously good with when it comes back into the meta. And I know that sounds ridiculous, because it's like everybody says, you know, you never forget how to ride a bike, but Dota's not riding bikes. Losing games because you're shaking off some rust is completely unnecessary, and you don't want to goddamn do that, because it is your solo rank, man. You do not want to lose that. It is what everybody cares about. It's the reason that you're watching this video, most likely. You want to build that so you can play against better players, so you can be better, so maybe one day you can go pro, or maybe you just want to be really good at Dota. But the whole point is that everybody's competitive, everybody wants to win, and you do not want to lose that solo rank, because that is the competitive part of Dota. So you want to practice these heroes and do this flowchart even when they come back into the meta. So for instance, with Pudge, when Pudge gets good, I will do this despite having 1,000 Pudge games, just because I know that no matter how good I think I am with Pudge, I am not going to be able to hit those hooks the first time. I'm going to need to shake off that rust, and I will do it by using this flowchart. So one final thing that I want to mention is that in terms of setting yourself up to have good practice and to realize what it is that you need to be practicing, what I would recommend is to look at the live games at any given point. Find a high rank game or a tournament that was recently played or a tournament that is currently being played, and find a hero that you want to be really, really good at. Even if you're trying to relearn a hero after it comes back into the meta, or if you're trying to just learn the fundamentals of a hero for the first time, what you want to do is just watch an excellent player playing that hero, because then you'll realize why people are playing that in the first place. What are the items? What are the kind of new things that people are doing? For example, very recently people started doing this thing on Invoker where they're tornadoing a range creep to get a last hit and then harassing too. I know that has nothing to do with this replay in particular, but that's just an example. So what you want to do is just check out those games, and it's going to be something that's going to allow you to realize, okay, this is what I need to be practicing in these practice lobbies in Training Polygon, in pubs. These are the heroes that are going to be picked against me. And that's not really a practice thing in the sense that you're still going to be practicing in the exact same way. That's more so to set you up to actually know what to practice, and that's why I wanted to put it right here at the end of this video as kind of an addendum. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I do genuinely appreciate it, guys, and I hope to see you in another video.